Hey everyone, welcome back to the Beauty School Bobby podcast. Today I am here with Bailey Lavender. Bailey, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to finally get to do this with you and to talk about everything that you've been doing in the industry. You have so much going on at all times, personal life, in TikTok world, just in real life. Like there are so many things. So I'm so excited to catch up. Thank you so much for making this time for me. I know you are very, very, very busy.
I would do anything in the world for you. So, absolutely.
Well, I am loving your space behind you. So are you recording in your salon today?
Yes, I am. This is my salon suite. I have been in my salon, or it's not the salon suites, but in this salon suite salon since 2017.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And it looks familiar. You film your TikTok content there too, right?
Yes, I used to film at home, but once we had a baby, you could hear him screaming in the background and it messed some of the audio up. So I was like, we're just going to go to the salon from here on out and film everything here.
I love that. And you're probably more productive too. It's hard to set that space like as a mom because you're like, well, it's just easier if I just like right now. I'm like, if I just run upstairs, well, my kids are like out doing their thing and it's like not easier at all. Like they're like still very much in between recordings today, like went down for a second and they're like, this is the worst. We want to come hang out. I'm like, it's almost worse to be like there doing it than just in your own space. So
For sure. Because, like, I can't tell you how many times I've been at home filming and I hear Caden giving Charlie
Mhm.
absolute hell, and I want to go and help, but ultimately I have to make sure I'm doing my job and she's doing her job.
It is such a crazy balancing act. You all have fallen into it so perfectly. I'm so thankful that you share this with us. I know that it's been a huge part of, I'm sure your engagement is up because of all of this. I feel like a lot of people are really, really loving following you and Charlie's story and now you, Charlie, and Caden's story. It's really, really beautiful.
It's been so like because of the prior to the adoption, we didn't post anything about him until everything was finalized. And prior to that, it was so difficult to keep that from people because so many are so engaged within our life and we share so much of it. Hiding that part was so hard because I felt like I was keeping a secret from a part of my world. And so finally being able to share that with everybody has been so kind, so sweet. Like everybody has so much good advice when I don't know different things. I am so thankful for the community that is around me because of TikTok.
You so bravely, by the way, welcome advice and like you will go on and be like, "Hey, we're dealing with this and what do you all think?" Like which speaks so much to your community. Your community is obviously not always positive, which is something you're honest about as well, but you clearly have like followers and friends that like are encouraging and helpful because I feel like I don't know, you hear like the other side of it where it's like I would never post anything because I'm only getting negative feedback or I don't care what you think I'm supposed to be doing, but you so honestly welcome it. It is so refreshing and so different. Did you know that you were going to build this relationship with your followers and stuff? Like or are you like pleasantly surprised by how the family is?
I was so pleasantly surprised. I fully believe that starting social media, because at first you mainly get hate. It's inevitable with any social media platform. And I have noticed that as I've grown my kind of people, right? The people that have followed along within my story, within salon skits, within me and Charlie started dating, or we got married and eventually became parents. It's taken time to get there, and within that, I've had hate, but I'm a firm believer that if you look for negative, you're gonna find it in any situation, and same goes for the positive.
Are there days that you're like, I'm just going to stay out of the comments? Like, are there
Yeah.
certain videos that you just don't even look at the comments at all? Or how do you choose?
I have had to make a rule for myself where I, for the first 15 minutes, will make a rule where I'll go in and I'll make sure that, because, growing up within any type of community, there are certain things that you are unaware might be offensive to someone else in the world, right? And so I've had where I've said something that I didn't realize was offensive to someone, and people are like, hey, that's not okay to say. And I can correct it or apologize immediately for something I was unaware of. But allowing myself 15 minutes to check that, and then after that being done, allows me to make sure I am adhering to what is my role as someone who puts something out on social media, with also allowing myself to have that personal boundary of, there is so much negative that if I lean into this too far, then I will get into a negative headspace.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like one of the scarier things about what you do. You have blown up. As everyone listening knows, I mean, we haven't like directly addressed it, but if you're listening, you know Bailey Lavender and you know just a mass following, which is really awesome. And I feel like we're so lucky to be on this ride with you. We're going to talk in a second about how we met at ABS and kind of what those, these years have looked like of going there and seeing each other and all that stuff. But this all happened quickly for you, and like getting to watch you navigate all of this has been so amazing. Like I love getting to not only like see you at the show, or you so graciously came to an event that I hosted here in Knoxville with Siri Parks, and like just being here, and obviously with your family too, which was like the highlight. But getting to have you all here in person, but getting to watch you on this journey is so cool. I'm getting to see who you are online and who you are in person. You're one of the ones, and I know a lot of people say like, the influencers are going to be like a certain way, or I think in other industries they're probably different, but you are so naturally just like who you are online, in person, like you're just Bailey, and I love that about you. And I think that that has to be part of the reason that your community is so strong and so positive, like navigating that hate and stuff. Like I see Charlie showing up to defend you. I feel like there's like all of those things, but you have a really good support system around you to help you with that, because I'm sure that wasn't something that you were considering at first of what the internet was going to be like. And I think it does hold a lot of people back, but you do a great job of not just like living in that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things that I never fully anticipated was going to be something that I fell into. I mean, if you look at it, everybody kind of hopes for that one day, or maybe not even hopes for it, but everyone posts on social media that has a social media account, right? So you regularly are posting your world out there, but a lot of people are only followed by their friends and family, right? And so when I started posting, I was posting purely for entertainment for myself and for therapeutic type of purposes, right? Because I'd been through so much that I just wanted to act it out, because I grew up in an acting background, and I wanted to get out what had happened to me. And if someone saw it, that they related with it, then maybe they would also feel seen. And that was my whole point of just trying to have fun and do something different, entertain myself. And then it started catching traction. And then I started getting hate. And then I thankfully, like you stated, have an amazing support system that would remind me that just because someone doesn't agree with it doesn't mean it didn't happen to me. Or someone that doesn't believe me doesn't mean it didn't happen to me.
Mhm.
And me, so on same note, but different track. I had a friend who ultimately took her own life, and I talked about that on social media. The night that I posted that, I had so many people reach out to me and state that they were on that same track, but because of my video about my friend, they didn't go down that route. And that was the moment that I realized that social media is bigger than what a lot of people believe. That it's not just about my silly skits, about the horrible, horrendous things that people say and do in the salon industry, but it's so much bigger and it's so much broader than a lot of people believe.
I think that you identifying that and being like, my purpose for showing up here, my purpose for these videos, like you having that clear intention. I think sometimes where people, I don't want to say get it wrong, but I think sometimes where people float in this space of being one way online and one way here and one way there is because they're trying to let everyone else kind of decide who they are, what they're doing, right? Like, and that's not an abnormal thing, especially when you're young and you're trying to figure out who you are and what you want your posture to be and all of those things. But I do think it can get mixed up really, really easily when you don't have a very clear and direct purpose. So, how did you know, like online, what you wanted your purpose to be? Or does it just kind of align with who you want, what you want your values and posture to be just in general? Does it all just fit the same?
It kind of all fit the same. I originally, before becoming a hairstylist, wanted to be a therapist. And my mother and I had a discussion that that was probably not going to be best for me because I don't like schooling. It was not that long term school is not going to be great for me. And so we decided to go down the hair route. And if I still wanted to do it later, then I could, right? And so the mental health portion behind my a lot of what I speak on is kind of within that. And then my skits, I have always done theater within my younger years. And so that kind of flowed. And I have always been taught to stand up for what I believe in, right or wrong, to stand firm in who I am. And so I feel like what I show up on social media wise is just who I was raised to be. And there's no, excuse me, there's no wavering in that. It's just me trying to show up authentically. I feel like what you're saying is a lot of people show up with a ton of makeup on and filters, and they try to pretend like they're somebody they're not because that's what's trending in the moment, ultimately forgetting who they are and getting lost in the crowd. Where
Hmm.
I may be doing something that's trending, but I want to remain exactly who I am and always remember who I am while I'm showing up. And that's why sometimes I don't have the numbers behind my videos, is because it may not be something that's trending in that moment.
Yeah, there's a big difference in content creation between the like the I don't want to I mean clickbait's like the easy way to say it, but I'm kind of talking about something like a similar but different, but the clickbait stuff. I mean, you can be like, okay, my videos where I'm doing these skits or like where I'm getting whatever and you can post and you can say I'm going to keep doing that cuz that just makes sense, right? But
Right.
you're not going to be like I just need to do this skit because this is what's going to get views, and that's where like that is where the separation happens between like real and authentic. And I think unfortunately, like that difference, you can spot that difference from a mile away. And I think a lot of people can too. So in your success, I do think it's like so important to just show up as you are. So you already having that background and everything that you listed, it does seem like the space that you're in right now is exactly where you're meant to be. However, Bailey, like I have seen like this change where it's like, okay, well, what's next? Because I do see you growing and changing, even like at the shows it's different. So now, which again, I we need to rewind and talk about America's Beauty Show because that is where we actually officially had first met, and you all were in your group, the Hair Talk group. I was coming in working with ABS on the production side of things, and I just feel like as soon as we met you all, we were like, okay, this is who we want to be with for our fun and our sanity, because everyone was so normal and nice. Like we're all there like figuring out this huge show. You all are there for the first time. And what are we supposed to be doing here? Like what's going on? We're kind of doing the same thing. Like we were like, what are we doing here? What's supposed to happen? But now I see this unfolding in such a different way. And I think this year specifically is the year that we all have, like you all have gone to other hair shows, you've done other things. This year, I just feel like we're all showing up like we know what to expect, we know what to do, we know what we need to do. And I think it's going to be really, really, really incredible and different. So you are going to be teaching some classes at America's Beauty Show this year. So tell me what you're going to be teaching.
So me and my best friend Siri, if you're not aware, started teaching classes last year at ABS. So last year was our first round together teaching mental health related classes within the salon industry. Our first round was at ABS. So this year is even more like just heart wrenching in a good way, right?
Mhm.
Of that we are back doing it again, starting fresh with a new series of mental health related salon industry needed classes. is. I don't feel like it's spoken enough about how hard this industry is and how clients, coworkers, and bosses ruin this industry for some of the people who work in it. And hopefully our classes make people feel seen, heard, and allow them to reignite that fire to want to stay in the industry longer, fight the toxicity, and keep going.
Yes. And I think it's so positive. I think you guys doing this together too is so great because you both have such different personalities, but personalities that mesh so well. So you can talk about different experiences and you can share what each of you have gone through. And so it's basically you getting two classes for one, which is awesome. I don't know if you know this or if I think I told you this when you were here in Knoxville visiting, but I got a video last year at ABS and like, cell phone service is spotty. There's 25,000 people in there. And so I got a video and I don't even remember who it was from. It might have been from Frank or just somebody on the ABS team, but they were like, check out this line for Siri and Bailey. Like this hasn't happened all week. And like just somebody walking down like hundreds of people waiting to get into your class. Like that wasn't happening with other people. So say what you will about, everyone wants to say, there's this big conversation about the influencers and like all of this thing, not you specifically,
No,
but
yeah.
what's happening in the industry. And I'm like, well, that's not happening for everybody at ABS. It's really not happening for any other class, but they were lined up and waiting for you to be there, waiting for you all to speak. Like that's how important this message is. And I'm so thankful that you guys are doing it again. How did it make you feel? Because I know that there had to have been a part of you that's like, is anyone even going to come to our class? Like, is anyone going to even show up? Was there that moment? And then what was it like when you saw all those people?
So let me set the stage for you, okay? So we're sitting backstage and we're having our Hannah Montana moments. We are mic'd up. We're so excited. And then it hit me that I had to go pee. Okay. And it's across the building. And so I rip my mic off and I take off running because we had 15 more minutes, right? And I'm typically fast. I got long legs. And Siri's like, you got plenty of time, right? And so by the time I get back, Siri's in the class. The class started early because Charlie announced us early. And Charlie's back there, like, where did you go? Right. And so I am huffing and puffing. I get mic'd up. She opens the door, and I didn't know about how many people were going to be in there. She opens the door, and I turn the corner. I'm facing Siri, and she looks white in the face, right? Because she's stunned just as much as I'm about to be. And I turn to look, people, Bobbi, there was not enough room for everybody in that class. People were, I'm going to get emotional talking about it. There were people standing and it was an uproar for her in my class. And I am shaking talking about it. Like the amount of people that sat through that class that we had never taught before in our life and how kind they were to take time out of their day to come to that class to show us so much love and so much support. Like I cannot thank every single person that has come to one of our classes enough that one, hopefully they got something out of it, but two, made us feel so important for that hour was unexplainable. Like that moment, I will never forget.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I think that it really is like, I don't know how many of those people were like followers that you've connected with. Cause I mean, at this point, like you have so many followers, like you're not going to be able to connect with all of them. Like if you knew, I'm sure that there were some that you had knew or had talked to before, but just knowing that that many people even know who you are at a show where there is every single like top I mean, people that you followed forever that maybe have inspired you to come into the industry. I mean, we talked about Daniel Mason Jones with Siri because we had like a weird moment together where like the first year I met Siri was through that. And there's a whole thing. Go back and watch that episode.
I
But
love, yes.
yes, but like you had to have had that full circle moment as well of just being like, I'm here just as Bailey to see all of these people and like everyone showed up for you. It was so special. It was incredible. Like there's just so much that happens there that I don't think people understand how close they actually get to you and how much they actually will get to see you. And last year it was like when everybody was coming in before the ribbon cutting, like we're all hanging out right there. I mean, people were coming up asking for photos. Like it really is so intimate. But to get a one-on-one class with you, I think is so special. So you're teaching, are you teaching 2 of the days this year?
Yes, we're teaching. I'm not sure if it's Sunday and Monday or Sunday and Saturday, but it's back to back, 2 different days. And so it'll be me and Siri during those classes, and I believe we'll be on a panel as well.
Ooh, that's so exciting. So many different ways that people will get to you. Do you have any memories or experiences that you're like, this happened at ABS, somebody that you met, or just a way that you got to connect with one of your followers that stands out to you?
So I get so emotional. Okay.
I've
So,
already like teared up. So if we just want to cry through this, I think it's okay.
so last year at ABS, I was aware of the fact that we were adopting our son Caden, but we could not talk about it yet. And I had just had the privilege of telling all my friends at ABS as well in private because I wanted them to be there, right? And no. And I'm walking through the show floor, right? And this stunning human being, she comes up to me, she grabs my hand, and she's like, I know that you have somewhere to be, but I've followed your story for a really long time. And she puts her hand on my face and she said, I need you to know that I feel in my heart you soon will be a mom. And I'm shaking talking about this. She's like, I need you to know I feel it, and I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know it's going to happen, and you're going to be the best mom possible. In that moment, right? I'm crying talking about this. Like, I stopped dead in my tracks because in the show floor, it's crazy, right? Like, it's like Vegas of hair. Like, there's so much
Mhm.
going on. There's flashing lights. There's bit loud noises. Like, there's people everywhere. But that moment that she wanted to take, like, she doesn't know me, like, other than social media. Like, I have no idea if she has followed me for a long time or just so happened to come across my infertility journey or whatever it may have been. But that moment, I just wanted to wrap her up and hug and be like, I'm going to, but I can't tell you yet. And it was one of those moments that I will never, ever forget. But that moment will stick with me forever.
Yeah, that's first of all so crazy. I didn't know
Right?
that. I've never heard that story. Like that's so nuts for them. Like for somebody to like feel that
Mhm.
and know and to stop you. I mean, because that person could have just seen you and been like, okay, like, oh, there's Bailey and whatever. But for them to take the time to stop you and tell you that is so incredibly sweet. And like honestly, Bailey, that is the perfect example of what ABS is. Like I feel like I mean, at any moment you can see that happening. Like it
Yeah.
really is. We were just talking with Kendra about, you know, her experience at ABS and stuff. And we were just talking about how it's this weird, like we all ended up there in weird ways. Kendra was telling us that she just went like for the first time to support friends and knew Teresa and whatever. But like the way that it was like all just came together just feels so meant to be. And I don't know. I mean, again, I know there's a bunch of other hair shows and stuff, but there is something specifically like about ABS for me that it just feels right. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know why we come from Knoxville to Chicago. Like there are closer shows. Like there's just something about it that's so different. And I really think it's the people. I think it has like a way of drawing like good people in.
I don't know if you're aware of this or anybody else is. So, a lot of people know that I'm friends with so many of the hairstylists, especially like the Hair Talk group, correct?
Yes.
Well, a lot of people feel as though that we've been friends for years on end, right? Um, the first year, which was this will be the third year of me going to ABS. The first year I went was the first time I met any of them.
Yeah.
Like
No, it's
I had
crazy.
never, like, we were mutuals and I was scared to death to go. That was the second hair show I'd ever been to in the 10 years of me being a hairstylist. The
Wow.
first one was horrendous because of the people I went with, but I was terrified to go, and had been very public about me being scared to go and going by myself. And as soon as I got there, everybody, like, they wrapped me up in a hug, and it was just one of those moments. Especially Meg, like, you know how Meg does with her hugs, like it's memorable. Um,
I just want to squeeze her right now. She won't let go. They're so good.
I know, right? And so it was one of those moments that I'll never forget of camaraderie that keeps making me want to go back to ABS. Like it was one of those moments that aligned me with these humans that have been so influential in my life that I haven't known for a super long time, but it feels like I have.
Oh, and now it's family. Like now
Yes.
it's like not even just friends or just I mean, now it's like you guys are such a unit that it's literally going to be forever. And I think that
Yes.
that is so special. Now, the first year that you went, were you like hired to go with the ABS or did you go like just at first to a hair show? Like how did that all happen?
So at first, it was where I was going by myself. I posted a video that I bought a ticket, was going, I was scared, blah, blah, blah. ABS found that video and reached out to me. Sorry, ABS. I got a tickle.
This is
I'm trying not to die here. I got a tickle. My eyes are dying. But ABS reached out to me and was like, hey, we would love for us to sponsor you to go, for you to be a part of the ABS team with Siri, Teresa, Meg, and everybody else that they were including in that as well. And ever since, I've been working with ABS because I adore them.
Yes, it really is such a fun little team. You think about how that show's put on and you think that it's going to be like this huge group. And I'm like, there's like five. There's
Yeah.
like five people that are like running that show. Like it's so crazy. But I think that that makes it even more family. Like I think it makes it even more special and easier to get connected. So I think it's the best. I'm so thankful for ABS for bringing all of us together too, because I think, you know, from there, friendships and stuff have formed. So one of the things that I'm so thankful for about ABS is like your wife, your extended family, your like now it's a group. Like now it's your wife and son a part of this that are very much, you know, there. And I know that Charlie does such an awesome job of wrangling you all in. I obviously my husband's there, so it really is just like we've branched off in these ways so much so that like Charlie will text me and be like, "Hey, I have this idea for this." It's really cool that it's not just you in this. Like you have put all the chips on the table, like all the eggs in the basket. Like this is family. So not only do you do that online, you do that in person again as well. And I think that them being at the show, is Katie going to get to come this year? Maybe.
Yes, he is. We were trying to figure out at first, solely because like we for a while there were not showing his face. Then we showed his face for a little bit, and then we have gone back to not showing his face online just because
Mhm.
um there are horrible people in this world. And
Yeah.
so we have taken his face back off of line, and we were trying to figure out, do we feel comfortable taking him to a hair show? Do we not? His face might get like leaked. And we had to remind ourselves that our world didn't stop when we had a child. He
Mhm.
is slowly, very, or not even slowly, he very quickly became a part of our world with our travel, with my crazy schedule. And I want him to be a part of this stuff. With that being said, so many people are so kind. I run into people out and about a lot where, God, I run into people all the time where we'll be out in public and they want to come up and take a photo of some sort. And they are the first ones to be like, hey, cover his face because they know I don't want his face posted online. And I'm a firm believer that when we're at ABS, which is like our home base that started the whole group, that they will also be respectful of that. And so I'm excited that that will be actually his first hair show that he gets to go to. Mind you, last year at this time, we were announcing to our friends that he was even a thing.
That's amazing. I
Mhm.
cannot wait. And I think Bailey, it is so important. Like I've done this both ways where like my kids have gone with me or they haven't. And there is a time where it is like, okay, it's just easier for us not to because they're
Mhm.
not getting to have fun, but he's a baby. So like he's gonna be fine everywhere. You know what I mean? It doesn't impact him so much. So I think while you can, I think it's so special to be able to do that. No, we were talking a little bit before we started recording about your gorgeous studio space there. And I love that you are so open online about, you know, kind of what you're doing and all of those things. Can you tell me how you gaining this popularity and fame has like impacted what you're doing as a hairstylist?
The it sounds crazy, but the amount of information that I give out to the world. So, with that being said, I share a lot about myself, a lot about what goes on in my world. but for privacy and safety, I have had to cut off a lot of information that goes out there. For a while there, as a stylist, you're the first ones to post, this is where I work, this is how you can get in touch with me, here's my cell phone number, whatever it may be. And very quickly, I had to learn that I can't do that. Not even just as someone on social media, but as a woman. I actually had a man show up at my salon late one night when I was taking clients later in the evening still, and was outside of my window with his phone in the what is it called, the dash, right? And he was taking photos of me working on my client. And mind you, thankfully I have amazing clients who were and still are very protective of me and themselves, and so we made sure each other got to our cars very quickly and safely and left immediately. But it's one of those situations, and maybe that man meant nothing by it. Maybe he just was taking photos that there was a stylist here and maybe he didn't know who I was. But ultimately it was a fear factor because I was one of very few stylists at the salon here late at night by myself. And that is terrifying as a woman in general of what could happen. And
Mhm.
so the information that I give to the public is very careful of what I share. I don't share where I work. I don't share exactly where I live. You don't see my child's face. You cannot find my cell phone number anywhere. It's very filtered just for my safety, my client's safety, and my family's safety as well.
How long was it that you were kind of operating, like you said, and that was such a good point to bring up that, like, in a normal world, like in being a stylist, the way that the majority of stylists are, you're putting yourself out there. You're like, come see me. Here's where I'm at. Here's my phone number. Here's my everything. And for that to switch, how long did it take you to do that? I mean, was it pretty immediate as things started, as you started getting more engagement and the numbers started growing? Did you realize that quickly, or was that something that you took a while for you to kind of put into effect?
So it took a family member not losing their mind on me, but getting very serious with me. I was in the midst of going through a divorce when I was gaining traction on social media. So I was living by myself. I mean, I have my dog, but I mean, honestly, I think she would lick somebody to death more than anything. And so my family member, he is a part of law enforcement, and he came to me and he was like, listen, I know prior to social media, that was how a lot of stylists gain clients.
Mhm.
At this point, you are single, you are alone, and your safety is at my top most priority. I don't care if you're putting yourself out there as only a hairstylist and you're not posting your own stuff like about you. This has now gone too far. And if you don't take care of this, then I'm deleting apps off your phone. And so it was that moment where I was like, I think you're overreacting. But then shortly after is when I started being like, okay, let me reel back a little bit. And instead of having my cell phone number, let me put an email address.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest with you, at that moment was when I realized how many clients don't respect boundaries, because of how many people would get upset when I would say, hey, please don't text me. Instead, send me an email. That way I can filter through everything that I have not responded to in business hours, or would give out my cell phone number, or would tell people where I work and what the hours I am. Like the things that I was asking that I felt as though were simple requests that were not for clients who have boundary issues.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's like a big issue anyways, just in the industry. But yeah, when you're famous and people start seeing you grow, like it's even more for some reason. Like they want that. They want to be a part of it. And they're like, oh, I want to get in with you now, and like all of those things. So I'm so happy that you were able to set those boundaries. Again, talking about hair talk again, but I really feel like that's a benefit of your life also, is you all can relate to each other in this and be like, hey, what are you all doing? How are you handling this? Because who else are you going to talk to about it? Like people that need to understand kind of what you're going through, is so special and important.
Yeah, it's having that community. of not even, it doesn't even have to be hairstylists. It's, I have had the opportunity of meeting other content creators that are so kind and so thoughtful and look out for everybody's well-being. Like, I remember early on when Charlie and I first came out, there were pictures and things sent to my mother that were unheard of, like unprecedented. Like, I won't even repeat what was stated and sent to her, but the things that were done there, I didn't know how to handle. I didn't know how to address it. And she was
Wait,
scared.
did you come out, like, as gay? Like, with, like, "I'm with Charlie now," and
Yeah.
that's how it was, like, all announced?
Yes. Like, so prior to my first marriage, my ex husband was fully aware that I had previously dated women, but my
Mhm.
family and a lot of my friends knew, but my family did not know, and social media did not know either.
Oh,
And so
no.
going through my divorce, I didn't really talk too much about it because what's the point? I mean, I'm preface, I'm not gay, I'm bisexual, so I like both. And so I was like, why even tell anybody? Because I like both. And if I'm dating a man, then too much and makes too complicated, right? And so
Right.
finally, when I started dating Charlie, when our friendship became more, I was like, well, now I got to tell people, all right, let's have fun with this. My family, they're beautiful, they're wonderful. Nobody had an issue with that, or the few that did have moved on from it. But social media had a field day with it because they were very confused because I think a lot of them knew I'd previously been with a man or had majority of my life been with a man. And it was wild, especially the homophobic people out there had a lot to say, especially when my mother was supportive of me in my life. And the things that were sent to her from other women, grown women, were horrendous.
Wow. I
Yes.
didn't realize that that was, like, part of that you had,
Mhm.
like, had this, these followers and stuff prior to
Mhm.
that.
Now, I didn't have, like, millions or anything yet
Yeah,
at
but
that
you
point.
still had, like, a presence. I mean, you
Yeah.
still had, like, you went through this online also,
Yes.
which is so crazy.
Yes.
The probably, like, the hardest thing to go through,
Mhm.
especially like you said, when they're, like, attacking you personally and involving your family, like, that's wild.
Yes. That's when my family got really worried about what social media has,
Yeah.
out there for, like, they're like, "Okay, so you're putting your life out there. If people say these things to me, what are they saying to you?" And I was like, "You don't need to know that. I just
Right.
delete it."
Mhm. Wow, that's awful. But also, I feel like creating really tough skin for you that you need to have with all of this. And that's probably where, as we were talking earlier in the episode about where those boundaries are and how you handle that, you're seasoned. Like, you've
Yeah.
been through it already. This isn't new. So you know how to handle it.
Mhm. Yeah, no,
Wow.
Charlie actually made a video the other day, and I found it funny is because when I first started doing the salon skits, right, she calls me a sassy asshole at first, right? I was extremely combative, very argumentative, first one to pop off about something. And
Wait, you
within,
were?
yes, yes.
What?
Yes, if you go back into my early like salon stories, I'm the first one to get argumentative. And a lot of people called me out on that because it was fun. It was whatever. It's just me. I'm just having like some hee hee ha ha's, right?
Yeah.
Well, over time, I was like, this is not realistic. Like, I think this, but I don't always say this, nor is it always professional to say, because some people were like, well, this is what I'm going to say next time. And I'm like, oh, maybe not. Like, this is for fun. Let's actually state something that's like productive, right? And so Charlie made a video the other day because I was starting to get a little hate, and it happens. But she was like, y'all forget what Bailey made her platform on, which was being sassy and a smartass, right? And so, because being a mother, I feel like I have calmed a lot. Like, I think about how I would want someone to respond to my son, how I would want somebody to speak to him, and how the what he absorbs online. I think about that kind of stuff. Like, I want, if someone's younger child is watching me, I don't want them to be like, "You're watching Bailey?" Ooh, I don't know about that. Like, I want any parent to know if their child's watching my stuff, it's okay.
Mhm. I love that you've even thought about that. And like, it is the best thing about like, because people say like there's different ways that motherhood changes you.
Mhm.
But that way is definitely like, it hits you. I have a ton of friends and I like, it does soften you. It hardens you in some ways where you're like, oh my gosh, I'd kill for this person.
Yes.
But it also does soften you in a way of like, oh, okay, like I'm not going to act like that anymore. Like that's hilarious. I love
Mhm.
that. I did not know that. And also, like, you're just not that person to me,
Mhm.
like at all. Like, I can't even imagine you being like that.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with I was raised by a 5 foot tall redheaded woman and a 6 foot 6 massive football player who both have like their mouth, right? They
Yeah.
both are quick witted. And so I know the things that I want to say, but I would never actually say. And so early on in my career, I would say those things like joking that I would say it to a client, right? Well, now I don't because I've realized that people think that what I'm saying in skits is really what I say in real life. And so I had to very quickly realize that people take things very, very seriously online. And I never
Mhm.
want someone to think that I'm a liar or that I am actually that argumentative in person because I've had people in the past, like way back, say that they didn't want to approach me because I was eating or something out and about and they were scared that I was going to pop off on them. And I'm like, no, 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 no. And so that was one of those moments I was like, okay, it's time to sit down and like rewind and reevaluate how I'm addressing things because that's not what I want people to take away from my skits at all.
You're so hyper aware of it and it's so smart because you're able to react and not even, I don't want to say correct, but you are able to correct and be like, oh, this is how I want things to look and how I want things to go, which is amazing. I just love you so much. It's the best. Okay, so I want to talk to you about how you came into the beauty industry. So how did it start with you going to beauty school and getting into all of this? Because I think that there's a world in which, had you not even done beauty, I think that you would have been in the position that you're in. But it's one of those things where, like, when you're successful, like you can be in any spot in any place and you're going to be successful. Like you have one of those personalities and work ethic and drive. But I'm so thankful that it's beauty because I think that we all need you and you're so incredible in this industry. But how did that start for you?
So I, in high school, was doing friends and family's hair for dates or girls' nights, whatever it may be. And I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted to be a trauma therapist, actually. But I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was really young, along with ADHD, and went to a school for kids with dyslexia. After 8th grade, they didn't have the schooling for that, so I had to go back to public school. I very quickly learned that there is a major difference in schooling from school or a school directed to kids with dyslexia and school that's directed to the mass majority. And within that knowledge, I realized that school was not something that was ever going to be easy for me. With that being said, I could do it and I could achieve what I wanted, but I wasn't going to at that age. At 18 years old, I was not going to put my nose to the grind and really hustle with it. And so my mom and I had a sit down conversation where she was like, listen, you're already doing hair. It's similar to the beauty or the therapeutic world. Why don't you go to beauty school, get that underneath your belt? And then if you still want to go into therapy, we can absolutely have that conversation, but have a backup plan. So I went to beauty school. It was a part of my community college at the time, still is, but it was a part of the community college. Went to the basics. I was like, this is boring, right? Where I'm playing on a mannequin head. Went into the first semester of working on the floor. And I was working on this young girl, and I'll never forget this moment. I was working on this young girl. We were doing highlights. And mind you, looking back, the highlights were horrendous, awful. And it took me all day to do them, but they were horrendous. But I remember curling her hair and turning her around, and the moment she looked at herself was this glow, and it her shoulders went back, she felt gorgeous, she was flipping her hair everywhere. And that was the moment that I realized that I love making people feel good about themselves and feeling good in their own skin. And if I can have any part of that while I get the privilege of getting to learn their life story, then I want to do this. I want to be a part of this. And I want to get to meet the amazing humans that are out in this world while I get to multitask with my hands.
Yes, and that is like the best part, and I feel like you having being diagnosed with that young like really is like if anybody's listening and has been diagnosed with that also like it's I'm so thankful for you saying that this is an industry where you can thrive and you can be successful strictly on how different the teaching is. Like we say it all the time like this is 95% hands-on learning. And I think that it honestly caters to somebody who has ADHD and dyslexia. Like I really think that it's a great spot and a great career path, which again is probably why people connect with you and are able to just kind of feel that that this is a route that you found that brings you happiness, and then you doing the classes. Like I said, I think it's probably easy for them to be like, oh, I see myself in her, which is awesome. Like again, your honesty and like you being open to even talk about any of this is so amazing. And I think on your platform, like it really is going to help change the world and it's going to help change lives.
See, in the classes, we majorly talk about the horrific things that have happened in the salon industry to us, right? And we each have our own stories. Mine, I very much focus on the first salon that I ever worked at that treated me horrendously. Regularly talked about how I was too fat to be in the industry. I wasn't pretty enough to be in the industry. That I was never going to make it without the salon owner. That she believed that I was never going to go anywhere and do anything with myself, especially with how I looked. Um, and now, years later, her salon is closed, and I am here. And I love that I get to be a voice for how horrible, and mind you, people in the salon or in my area that I live in now know who I'm talking about, but I don't say her name just out of respect for her, whatever. But people know that I am going to speak out about what is wrong.
Hmm.
And a lot of people in our industry believe that the way we found it's the way we should leave it. And I don't agree with that.
No.
I feel as though the way we found it, we should make it better.
Hmm. Yeah,
And we should
absolutely.
always strive for that.
Yeah. And also knowing that like your path is different from somebody else's path, that there's not just like one clear way in this. I think that that's what's so great about the beauty industry is that there isn't just one clear path. Now, I think unfortunately, especially when you came into it, the stories that you all share, like there were a lot of people that had that same experience, which like you said, isn't right. That's not how it should have been. I think that now there's so many different opportunities for people to kind of go in and do what they want. The important thing being that you don't give up and you don't let anybody else steal this joy away from you. Because when you have that dream to help people and you want to do this and you want to be successful in this industry, you just have to learn to walk away. And I think that that definitely is not talked about enough of like, if you're in a bad situation, if you're in the place where you're not supposed to be in, like, what do you do from there? Because reality is a lot of people just leave. A lot of people give up. And I don't know if that was something that you considered or if you did for a little bit. But I think that's the downside. Now you can find people that are like, hey, I had this experience and that's not normal. Like, that's not how it should be. And I think that, again, for a long time, and even not that long ago, I mean, that's just, it really was accepted of you just have to play the game with the salon that you go to and good luck. But that's, obviously not how it should be at all.
Not at all. And unfortunately, so many people related with my stories that I was putting out there. And it really broke my heart. I was truly hopeful that if anybody related to it, it was going to be very minuscule. There was not going to
Hmm.
be many people that did. But there were people within the industry, there was people within restaurant industry or anything else that service related that were completely feeling like they were seen and heard for the first time. And that broke my heart that there's so many people out in this world that are treated horribly, but that it's just brushed over because, well, that's just how the cookie crumbles. And I don't agree with it.
No, not at all. And like you said, you've got to make it better unless we like speak about it and talk about it. We're not. What is the reception? I've never talked to you about this and we can like cut this if we want, but what is your normal reaction from different people in the beauty industry? I'm sure brands love you all. And I'm sure brands are really anxious to work with you. Is it kind? Is it like what do most people think about what you're doing?
It is very, how do I say this? It is very hot and cold. We have some people who love that we're making skits about the industry imperfections, and we have some people who believe that we are bait, or what's the word,
Like
baiting
clickbait?
people, yeah, clickbaiting people, and just leaning into the negative because that's all we want to look for. It's purely, it's very up and down, where I've had some people where, like, we have like Reddit pages that talk so much crap.
That's the
um
scariest thing I've ever heard. Like,
there's so,
that was like jump scare. Like, like I could never. You don't look at that, do you? Like, have you
no,
looked at? Okay, yeah, you can't. I mean, that's so
I can't,
scary.
I
That's a
can't.
place on the internet I can't even like bring myself to go to on any topic or I'm like, I don't belong here. And I know that and I'm okay with that.
Why does Reddit feel like the dark web?
It really is. It's the scariest thing. Like, it scared me when you said that you had, like, I'm like, no, Bailey, don't look at that.
I can't. Thankfully, the last time I looked at it, I didn't have, no, knock on wood, I didn't have a page of my own. I was getting commented about under Siri and Teresa's pages.
Okay.
Now, mind you, I try not to look at those, and I also try not to bring that up around the other girls because I know that they have had some horrific things said about them on there, and I never wanted to bring it to their attention to keep it at the forefront of their brain.
Right.
But yeah,
It's one of those things where it's like what somebody else thinks about you is none of your business. Like
yes.
I stand by that and like mostly to protect myself. Like I would just like never want to know. But there is, yeah, weird stuff that happens there. So is that where it's like mixed like for you? Is that where it's like some good, some bad? Like what about professionals in the industry? Is everyone like nice to you guys? Like
Yes and no. I have never dealt with anybody speaking negatively to me as a professional, but I have heard from some of my friends that are within amazing companies where they have heard someone that they looked up to in the same room as them, that because they didn't have the same number count as them, right, at the same follower count, they were spoken down to or spoken down to around them, like they were in the same
mhm.
room and could overhear them, where they were speaking down about how all of these quote unquote influencers shouldn't be a part of whatever they're going through, whatever they're a part of, because they've worked so hard to get here. And that breaks my heart because I have some friends that have worked so hard, and some of their content is phenomenal because they're amazing hairstylists, but they're just trying to get their work seen, right? Or their
Mhm.
salon scene or whatever it may be. And they're spoken down to from these people that we all have looked up to, that I admired for such a long time. And now they have a bad taste in my mouth because of how they spoke about one of my friends who
Yeah.
they don't even know.
Yeah, that's so hard. Like
Mhm.
that is especially like you said when it's somebody that you've looked up to, but I wish that like we could just all like it's fine. Like there are different ways to get what you want and not everything is for everyone. Like
Mhm.
that's just like the reality of it is it's
And
not
then
for everyone.
I have amazing connections with these other humans like Eric Vaughn or DMJ. Like, I have made these connections that these amazing human beings that are huge in the salon industry, that are
Mhm.
amazing humans through and through. Because of them, they make me want to stay. They make me want to send people their way. Like, those are the humans that I adore and love, and the companies that promote them or promote some of my friends as well. Like, there are good to bad and bad to good, whatever you want to look at.
Yeah. I had this like thing happen recently, and I'm not going to get into like the specifics of it, but I had this thing happen recently where I just am like interested to know if this has happened to you yet, or if you've had this experience where there are certain people we're all supposed to like, right? Like when we go, I don't even want to say that's like hair show specific, but when you go places, like there's people that you're like, oh, I'm supposed to like them, or oh my gosh, wouldn't it be the biggest deal if we could, collaborate or whatever, right? Like if
Yeah.
it's like, oh, if we could get an interview with them or whatever.
Mhm.
I recently like had this thing of like letting people like show you who they are, right? Like if somebody is acting a certain way, whatever. And I like had this moment of being like, why would I want that person to like me, work with me, be associated with me in any way? Like there's a certain line where you have to like play the game. But then there's a part of like, why would I even want them to like me? Like, what if they were out there being like, oh my gosh, I love Bailey, I love Bobby, whatever. And I would be like, oh, don't put my name with your name. Like I know now that you're not great. And now I'm like, I hope you don't. Like, I hope that you aren't out there promoting me. Have you had that?
I have not had that within myself because I'll be honest with you, outside of my friends, I don't really communicate with a lot of people. I'm very weird about my circle. I'm very weird about the people that I associate myself with because, so my therapist, I go to therapy regularly, and my
Love.
therapist associated it with, do you know how to swim?
Are you asking? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you jump into a pool without floaties, you're not worried if you're going to sink. If someone jumps in beside you who doesn't know how to swim, what are they going to do?
Hmm.
They're going to
Yeah.
take you down. They don't
Hmm.
care whatever means it means to keep their head above water, even though you know how to swim. The best way to keep your head up is to separate yourself and allow them to sink or swim. And so
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in I have to make sure that my circle is really my circle.
Hmm.
And so it is actually very rare that I associate myself with people that I don't know decently well.
Yeah. Well, I love that too. Maybe that's actually the secret to success. Maybe that's what it is. Is like I really need to like close in the gaps there on who's being let in. But I think that, for people who think that what you're doing like is the easy way or you didn't have to like work so hard to get where you are, it's just like a crazy mindset. And I think that you're handling it all so well. But it's also good to like let everyone know that because people are watching you when you came into the school, like so many people, so many of our students are like, I want to do what Bailey's doing. Like, and I know a lot of people saying that, like not knowing how hard it is, how much time like all of the things, but like for them to be like, this is what I want to do. And just being able to speak honestly about like what that actually looks like,
Mhm.
and what challenges you're going to face from, like you said, you brought up some amazing points today of like, you can't really be as honest and open and just here I am. Like it does change things. So I think being like real about all of that stuff is the best way to see kind of what's happening and how all of this works because it is changing. I mean, for a minute, TikTok was going down and didn't know what was going to happen and move. So like it all, I think, wakes you up to be like, okay, wait, this is this one thing I'm doing, but I need to have other outlets also.
Yes, because there for a while, I only posted on TikTok, right? That was like, if I'm going to post anywhere, it's only going to be there. And I don't want to broaden that because, to be fair, I didn't really want a ton of people that I went to high school with or so knowing that I was posting silly skits where I'm talking to myself. Because
Mhm.
I was like, that's dumb. And I don't want to be made fun of. And then I had so many fake accounts on Facebook or Instagram that were sharing stuff that was clickbait, that was putting viruses on people's account or on their phones, or they were sharing things that were horrendous that I would never share, saying things that I would never say, and it's under my name with my photos and my videos, and it was heart wrenching. And
That's
so
so scary.
it was scary, like how someone can pretend to be you and take your identity away from you and make people think horrible things about you, even though you've never done that, was one of
Mhm.
those moments that I had to start posting all over social media and cross sharing. And it was something that I didn't fully, because I didn't ever prepare to start being a content creator. I went to school for hair and always just envisioned I was going to be behind the chair the rest of my life. Like that was just what was going to be. And mind you, I still plan on doing that. I still love the hair world. But it has changed unplanned, right? It just kind of fell into my lap and I have adored every single moment. But there's a lot that I was not prepared for that no one tells you about.
Right. Yeah. And I think for you all being the leaders of this or being kind of the first group that's like gone through this and gained the success on TikTok and stuff, like fortunately I'm so confident and comfortable with it being like you as a leader in this. I feel like even just from talking to you today, like you've got your feet on the ground. You've got such a good head on your shoulders. Like if it is like you having to take this on, but you are paving the way for what's next. And so I think you have to be honest about it, or else there's going to be other people going through these things that just fall. And I know that's not what you want. You're such a people person and like really want to make the world a better place. So I think that honesty is so helpful. And it's not like what you would typically expect.
Exactly. And how am I supposed to get online and pretend like I've got everything together? I
Mhm.
don't. My people who have been around for a while know that I'm a chaotic mess and I love it about myself. Like, you never know day to day if I'm going to have a crazy day, if I'm going to have my life together. And it honestly just depends on the day for me. I could wake up in the morning and decide that I'm going to have a rot day where I'm sitting on the couch all day. And I'm going to be honest about that, where my house is a mess and not everything is perfect. And I think too many people get online and have imposter syndrome because, or just not even online as a hairstylist, because they're showing up unauthentically as not even themselves. They're trying
Mhm.
to be something they're not. And that's when you have the quickest burnout.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can't wear that mask all the time. And it's like shows, like I said, like in person, you're gonna meet somebody and they're gonna be like, "Oh, Bailey wasn't like that," or she wasn't what I thought she was gonna be. I have one last question for you, then I'm gonna let you get back to mom life. But what is a piece of advice that like you wish that you would have known, whether it is through the hairstylist stuff or if it's with the influencing, like with your TikTok stuff, content creation, like whatever you want to call it. What advice do you wish that you would have had prior to all of this happening? 16-year-old Bailey, what do you wish that you would have known?
That's so hard. I think it would have been to show up authentically as myself sooner.
Hmm.
Because even before content creation, I, for a while there, was trying to do exactly what everyone else was doing to get clients. And the moment that I started sharing on my hair social media, right, more about myself and more about the experience clients can anticipate is when my client book started expanding very quickly. When I started sharing that I show up in a t-shirt and my hair in a bun sometimes, is when clients started feeling like they could do that as well. When people realized that they could come in and talk to me about what was going on in their own life and not have a picture perfect life as a client, that was when people started feeling more comfortable with me. And I felt the boundaries and the walls that were with my clients start falling down. And I felt more connected with my people. And it was more than just a transactional appointment. It was in depth, and I got to experience things with these people that were absolutely amazing: cancer treatments, divorces, marriages, infertility, the things that people are scared to talk about. Me opening up about my life not being perfect was what allowed the clients that were in my chair to do the same. And that
Mhm.
moment was the moment that I finally realized what my purpose within the salon industry was for, is to just be me.
Yeah. I love that. I think it's so special. And I think that we're all so lucky to have you. So lucky to have you with such a big platform. Like, if somebody's going to have it, I'm so thankful that it's you to reach so many people. I'm thankful for the honesty that you have, the way that you're able to communicate with everybody and for it to be so real. Like, I'm thankful for it that it happened when it happened, that it happened at all. So, I mean, it's great. Yes, I think the advice is great to do it sooner. I'm thankful it happened for you because I think that you really are going to change the world and can definitely say, like, make it a better place, make it better than how you found it. Like, you're incredible. And we're so thankful. Love you so much. I need to get you back to Knoxville.
Please, I would love it. You need to see my little baby.
I do. I'm like dying, like the tears that were flowing over him. Like, and it's going to be even more when everyone's like together and like, I mean, all of it. There's like the baby's happening for you. I know I'm like ahead of this. Mine are older, but like watching it all happen for you and you all be there for each other is just so beautiful. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for sharing your story. And we can't wait to see you at ABS. We are like weeks away at this point. So want to let the countdown begin. But Bailey, where can we follow you? Where do you want everyone kind of going to see what you're doing now? Because I feel like you have either moved or added some platforms onto where you're sharing.
So everywhere but Facebook, I am the Bailey Lavender, and everything but TikTok is verified. On Facebook, I am just simply Bailey Lavender, but everything can be found in the link in my bio. On TikTok, if you get concerned you're going onto the wrong platform or getting to the wrong account. I am so thankful that you let me be here today and took the time out of your day to talk to me. I love you so stinking much,
I
Bobby.
love you. I want to hug you so big. And if you are listening at home, make sure you're following, liking, subscribing, leave a comment. We're excited that you joined us today. So thank you so much for that. And make sure you're watching on the Beauty and Style Network. We will see you next time, guys. Bye.